this evening. It is our real pleasure and our distinct honor to be having you on our ISKCON of New Jersey Zoom channel. This is one of our most anticipated classes. We've been looking forward to this for quite a while. How are you all doing?
Oh man, we're nervous. This is like big time for us. Uh,
Oh no, don't worry. It's just 3,000 people watching, so it's not a problem.
I listen to this while I'm working on our house and listen to all the top shelf speakers you guys have. This is like.
How's the view from the top shelf, bro? You tell us.
I can reach the top shelf. We're pretty tall. But
so,
wow.
Thank you for accepting our invitation. We're really honored. And maybe I'll do a very brief introduction before we get started, if that's okay. Because it's a musical night of musical extravaganza we're looking forward to. So thank you all, dear devotees, for joining. And we're also broadcasting live on the YouTube channel, which I think is started. Yes. So very brief and quick introduction. His Grace Mitrasena Prabhu, he joined ISKCON in Berkeley in 1975 and received initiation from Srila Prabhupada in 1976. And he served as a brahmachari for about 10 years and then traveled all over the United States, distributing books, holding college programs, sharing Krishna consciousness with His Holiness Ganapati Swami Maharaj. Her Grace Mahadeva Darcy, she joined ISKCON in Boston in 1970 and received initiation in 1972 by Srila Prabhupada. And she got married in 1985, which incidentally is the same year that Mitrasena Prabhu also got married, because it turns out that they're married to each other. So they have lived in rural North Carolina since 1992, and they have two grown sons, very tall and very wonderful devotees. And as we'll hear very shortly, they love to share this incredible gift of Krishna consciousness, Krishna bhakti that they received from Srila Prabhupada. And for decades, they've done this in all kinds of unusual settings and environments, and rural and urban, with a wide variety and wide range of different people from all walks of life. Maharha Mataji is an expert seamstress of deity dresses. She's a wonderful mother, housewife, and cook. And Prabhuji, he's a loving father and a renounced preacher. He travels with his famous instrument known as the Mitratar. And Mataji, she shares kirtan and stories about Krishna with yogis and students. So if you'd like to join, he has an email group. Please write to Mitrasena Prabhu at mitradasa@gmail.com. I'll put this on the chat box so you can make a note of it. And once you join the group, you'll be receiving, he sends a note every few weeks. And this is one of the ways he stays in touch with people that he meets. And you can also follow him on Facebook and under Mitradasa. So thank you once again, and it's a real honor to have you on our Sangha. And please take it over from here, Prabhu.
All right, thank you. And the email group, this is like every couple months. My job used to be marketing for an IT company. That's a miracle job. Long story behind that. We're having a hard time picking out which stories to tell, but we did something there called drip marketing. My boss said, we repair software solutions. We provide software solutions at universities. And it's kind of like a plumber calling your house saying, hi, I'm a plumber, you need anything? So what we did was I would contact people, keep friendship with them, and then we would send them an email every few months, something interesting for them, informative, entertaining. And that's called drip marketing, because then when they do have a problem, we'll be the card on their shelf. And so I applied that to what I do now. When I meet people, when I meet someone interesting, it's always like, wow, this is so cool. We need to continue this conversation. How do we do this? And so I've been doing it now for like 15 years or so. And so when I send these notes out, they are for a wide open audience, people that are Christians, they're atheists, they're from all kinds of backgrounds. And I just try to keep it interesting for them. And not too frequent. If I start sending out a lot of messages, then people say, please unsubscribe me, because they get their email box overloaded. So that's one technique. And I always dreamed of giving a seminar on how to do that, because I think a lot of people might be interested in that. All right, we were thinking of starting with a kirtan, if that's okay. Just a short one, because somebody whose birthday it was yesterday, I want to wish a happy birthday to Anandi. But we're not going to sing happy birthday. So we'll keep this brief, I know. Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe, Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Krishna, Jai Krishna, Krishna, Jai Krishna, Jai Shri Krishna, Shama Gauri, Nitya Kishori, Rita Majori, Shri Radhe, Shama Gauri, Nitya Kishori, Rita Majori, Shri Radhe, Rasika Rasilo, Shaila Chapiro, Gunakarupiro, Shri Krishna. Rasika Rasilo, Shaila Chapiro, Gunakarupiro, Shri Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Krishna, Jai Krishna, Jai Krishna, Jai Shri Krishna.
Haribol, that was really, really breathtaking and heart-touching. Thank you so much.
So in the South, that's a big part of what we do. That's why we wanted to start with that. We are surrounded by people that play guitars, mandolin, banjo, and they sing in harmonies. And so we do that, and they can fit right in. People come to our kirtan, and I can just say, there's a guitar over there. You know the chords. Go ahead and play it. And then immediately they got the chords, they can sing it, they're memorizing the words, and then I'll ask them, can you sing in harmony? And so they start singing a harmony with us. And then they go home and they start singing Hare Krishna with their friends because they've got the guitar, they've got the chords, they've got everything down. But if we have to teach them how to play mridanga, harmonium, all of these foreign instruments, it just takes a lot more time. They go right to the mantra. Then the next week, those people come back and they ask, can I lead one now? I made up a new melody. And sure. So then they're singing their own melodies and we're singing along with them. And it just goes back and forth, back and forth. For a while, we were inviting people to our home because we found it easier than getting people to the temple. So on Sundays, we would start our program at 1 o'clock. And we had a schedule developed. We'd start with the kirtan, then start with the kirtan, then we would read a chapter of Gita together. We'd spend over an hour on that. Everybody would read a verse, we'd go in a circle, we'd discuss it, and I would just try to step back and let these country people, a lot of them were really young, a lot of them were high school kids, and we're still in touch with them now that they're off in college. One girl even wore a sari to school. She liked it so much. Was she wearing tilak too?
Not sure, but probably.
But these kids were really nice, and some of them were like, it was a little risky for them to come to the temple. They couldn't tell their parents. We didn't want to get anyone in trouble, but sometimes they'd sneak over. So we would just do kirtans like that. We'd start at 1 o'clock, and usually I'd be there. Oftentimes I'd be there till 8 o'clock at night, still doing kirtan. They didn't want to stop. There's such a culture of music in our area, so we just have to do it in a way that they can relate to. When we first moved there, we moved to Sandy Ridge back in 1992, and my first experience was going to the DMV, buying the license plate for my old pickup truck, and I noticed everywhere was antique license plates on the wall and pictures of Elvis Presley and Elvis Presley music. That's what it was like in 1992. And I had to get bolts to bolt my license plate onto the truck. The lady said, yeah, right across the street, you can get them. So I went across the street, and there's this really old guy wearing a hat that said, Joy Dog Food. And he didn't seem like a very joyful person. And the first thing he said to me was, y'all ain't from around here, are you? And I said, no. And he asked, are you with that community? Because the local newspaper that everybody in that area reads had done an article about our community. Krishna families just want a fair chance. It was something like that. And everybody had read that article, and they all knew we just wanted to build our own homes, live in the country, grow organic food. So Mr. Joy Dog Food hat guy, he looked up at me and he said, organic farming. Ha! And then he had a little cup and he spit his tobacco juice in there because everybody's chewing tobacco or smoking cigarettes. He spit in there and said, y'all gonna starve. So yeah, we didn't get the farming down for a few years. If we were counting on that, yeah, we would have starved. But after that, everybody was really nice. I think I just met the only grouchy person there. We made friends with everybody. Oh yeah, go ahead. You tell your story.
Well, we had these neighbors, and the older gentleman and his wife, they were pretty old.
Tom Shelton. The road was named after him, Tom Shelton Road. If you ever have any experience with the archives address is on Tom Shelton
Yeah.
Road.
But anyway, the old man, he sat in his truck and he used his binoculars to watch us and see what we were up to. And we used to talk to him. He was really sweet, but he just wanted to know what we were about. And I used to give him prasadam and cookies and stuff, and he really liked that. But his daughter-in-law was a little suspicious of us, and she had read not a very good book about us back in that day. It was in their library, and that was the book that everyone around there was reading, and it was not nice things about the devotees. So she didn't like us, sort of, and but I kept bringing her prasadam, and we'd go visit her at Christmas and bring her some gift prasadam. And she started, after about 10 years, she started really liking us. And she came up to me and said, you know, you guys are the best neighbors we've ever had. It's really nice to have you here. And so she definitely warmed up to us. And we were hugging and everything after a while. We were like close.
We used to go visit him on Christmas.
Yeah.
But that book is about some Hare Krishna criminals, and it was an easy read. We put our books in the library, Bhagavad-Gita and Bhagavatams and other small books, but they were not getting checked out. You could go to the library and see how many times this book was checked out. It was always in circulation. Bhagavad-Gita's, I mean, it's hard to read. I mean, sometimes we're going to be talking about that.
Well, they're Baptists too.
Yeah, but they're curious. Who are these people that just moved into our midst? But I'll sit with people and say, okay, we're going to read Bhagavad Gita. I'll help you through it. Now open it up to text 1 and go ahead and you read. And they look at the first word and they just start laughing. Like, how do you pronounce that? Dhritarashtra. They just, anyway, then most of them are just going to close the book. I can't read this. There's too many. I thought the Bible was hard. So I always thought somebody should write a book that's as easy of a read as this other one that they were reading, but it's a little more gracious. It's a little more realistic. Talks about the rest of the devotees. So while those first few years we were there, I was just super busy building our house and all of the other devotees in the community. And about the only outside people we talked with were the building inspectors. And the building inspectors, I would ask them, like, well, how do people view us out there? And he said, well, people ask me all the time, you're dealing with these people, what are they about? And I tell them, they build their houses up to code, and they've always been friendly. And then also the construction people, folks that were doing bulldozer work, so we'd get to meet them. And then as our kids grew older, they joined the soccer teams. And so we'd take our kids to the soccer games and we'd hang out with the soccer moms. And then in the midst of all of the parents there, I saw Jimmy Heath. Hey, there's somebody I know, Jimmy Heath. He's the guy that cleared my land. He drives a bulldozer. And so I went over and said hi to Jimmy and felt like a local and really in there. And Jimmy was glad to meet me, and we were talking, and he was introducing me to his friends. And he said, that's my daughter out there. My granddaughter's out there playing soccer. She's blind. And I said, if she's blind, how's she playing soccer? And he just started laughing. He said, no, she's not blind. Her hair is blind. True story. Didn't make that up.
Snake.
Oh, well, that's coming up. Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, we joined a homeschool group, and it was all Christians, and it was a very large.
Oh, before we get into that, we had our own school, there was a lot of kids in the community for a while. So we had our own school, and one day the television news came, because part of the school was all the kids had to go to Mangal Artik, which was at 5 o'clock. So the Channel 12 news came. They had their camera and their broadcaster thing, and they were there at Adikarta's house, which was the temple room. And the newscaster woman said, "Here's a school that starts at 5 in the morning." And then camera panned over, and you saw Shivananda blowing the conch shell and the Artik starting, all the kids bowing down and then jumping up and dancing wild. Those kids would dance. They had so much fun. And then at the school itself, whenever there was a visitor, the kids were trained. When a visitor walks in, you all stand up with your hands folded, and that just impressed all of those Southerners so much. They loved it. And newspapers came and did articles about the school. But as kids grew up and moved on, then it just got smaller and smaller until there were only 3 kids sitting by the creek with Chitra teaching them. That was cool. They just sat by the river doing their studies. But then even that kind of fell apart, and then we started homeschooling, and then you go ahead.
Yeah, I brought my youngest to homeschool, and it was a Christian homeschool, so there was a lot of parents that were in there, a lot of kids. And then when we showed up, because they heard we were Hare Krishnas, 90, like most of them, just dropped out because they thought we were with the devil. So, but there was 2 families that stayed on, and they loved us. They thought we were so cool, and they were so happy to have us because we were like fun, and they just loved us. And they were like saying, well, we're kind of glad they all dropped out and you guys came, because it's been really wonderful to know you. And also the kids got really close, and my son really benefited from hanging out with those kids. He learned a lot, and also one time they went to see a movie, Star Wars or Lord of the Rings, one of those, and the Christian kids wore dhotis, and our kids were like, I'm not going to wear a dhoti. But they thought it was really cool, so they put on dhotis. And when they were standing in line, the pastor of their church was behind them, and he called up one of the boys' mom and said, your kid's here, and he's wearing this long,
wearing these Hare Krishna clothes.
And the mom was like, it's okay, they're just having a good time. And so the kids thought it was really cool to dress up like Hare Krishnas. And so it was fun. But when they went to the temple and they saw us chanting, or the kids chanting, one of the boys called their mom and said, is it okay if we chant? She says, no, you can't chant, but you can be there and be courteous. So, but they were just wonderful. They loved us and we loved them. So it was a fun experience.
And I'm glad our younger son had a chance to be with them and make friends with Christians at that age. And to feel a really good lifelong connection with them. So we're going to get into one more story, and then I want to open this up for questions, and then we're going to go back and tell some more stories. So I just want to let you know, if you've got a question, have it ready, and because we want to see who we're talking with. So from the homeschool, there was one of the members who was pretty religious, and I don't know, I never saw him in there, but he was pretty strong. He kind of had a reputation for being a little bit strong religious-wise, but he was also interested in running a car on waste vegetable oil, which I started to do. And if you get a diesel car, an old diesel, and you get waste vegetable oil after it's fried a lot of pakoras and samosas, you take that oil, you filter it, and it can run straight in your car in a diesel. So I bought an old Mercedes and I was working with that. This guy was also interested, and he was also building an electric car. And I said, I'm meeting so many interesting people like you. We need to organize a festival. And this was back in 2011 when I did the first one. Maybe it was 2010. Anyway, sustainability was a big buzzword. And I gathered all these interesting people that were doing sustainable things, farming practices, local economies. And the idea was we would bring together everyone. This county used to supply its own energy. There was hydroelectricity in that county way out in the boondocks back in the 20s. And just back in the 70s, that dam had been torn down. Nobody knew about it. So I found somebody that could tell that history. And the idea behind the Sustainability Festival was we can provide our own music, our own food, our own shelter, our own entertainment. We have everything we need. We're way out in the country. Let's gather up all the local people. Let's do this. And everybody was so excited about that idea. So I put up signs. I was inspired by what Chiru was doing. Also, the economy had been going down at that time. So that was a really big thing. Who cares what the economy is doing? The rivers are flowing, the sun is shining. All we need is food, shelter, and fun. And we can provide all of those things. So I went and talked to everybody I could. There's this lawnmower repair shop, Hutchins. They work on small engines, and you go there, and the people that work there, other devotees I've sent there, they got scared. They're like, these people make me nervous. They're missing teeth, but I made friends with them. Every time I go in, I would tell them a joke about, did you hear about that guy from Greensboro? They hired him to paint the yellow line down the road. First day he did 6 miles, second day 2 miles, third day he only did a half a mile. The boss asked, what's going on? By this time, everybody in the shop had gathered in, like, what's going on? And then I told them the punchline. They all busted up. They just thought it was hilarious. And the guy from Greensboro said, it's a long walk back to that paint can. And so every time I went in, they expected a joke from me. Now the people that run that, I found out the day of our sustainability festival was their 50th anniversary. And so I said, that's big news. I want your picture. I took a picture. I sent it to the newspaper and I said, our sustainability festival is going to coincide with their 50th anniversary. Why don't you run an article that says a sustainable relationship? Because these people are supplying us turnip greens and sweet potatoes for our festival. And so there it was, front page of that local paper that everybody reads. We made big news. And that was the biggest festival that our community had ever seen. That day, the cars were filled up the whole parking lot, went all the way down Prabhupada Road, out onto Moyer Farm Road, backed way up. People had to walk quarter mile, half a mile just to get to the temple. And when they got there, we had local musicians playing bluegrass music. That was something that the Hutchins guy said. If you guys have music, I'll be there. And I learned from that. If there's bluegrass music, these people are going to come to it. So that made the big news. The next week, it was in the paper again. They did a report on it. And let's see, what else? It was so big that we said, we've got to do this again in just a couple of months. And so every couple of months, we did another one. Each one was just as successful. The newspaper said, we can't put you on the front page every time, though. That's not fair to all the other festivals. We really want to. We love your festival. But the high point of that festival was I found a Mormon woman, And I said, I know you're into food storage. All good Mormons store a 2-year supply of food grains. Can you give a presentation on this? And she was happy to. She came in, she brought all of these displays and gave a really nice presentation. So now I can brag. I filled a Hare Krishna temple up with Southern Baptists to listen to a Mormon woman talk about food storage. And part of her presentation, she said, you know, God actually wants us all to be vegetarian. If you look at the way our body is designed. And I thought, this is so cool. Because I told all the devotees, we don't want to preach to these people about vegetarianism. We don't want to preach to them about anything. We just want to make them feel welcome. And we want them to have a good time. And so every time I did one of those, it was just such a big endeavor. I always said, never again. This is way too much work. But after it was over, I was already planning the next one. And then finally, after about 5 of them, I said, I'm never doing this again. This is too much work. It's too hard. But then somebody told me how he was out working in a field with his father, and these farmers were talking about what should we plant next in this field next season? What should we do? And one of them said, you know, you ought to get yourself over to the Hare Krishna temple. They have classes on things like that. And so when I heard that, I thought, oh man, that's just so cool. That's what I want. I wanted to get the idea across that, yes, we have this public institution. It's a temple that we don't have to pay taxes. Therefore, it's a public building. We should serve the public. I want this place to be seen as a place of education. And so it was working that way. We started doing other festivals. Maybe I'll get into that some other time. But I want to know, are there any questions or is there any feedback from people? Has anything come up yet?
If anyone has any question or comments, you can just unmute yourself. Go ahead, Yashodhara Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Mitra Prabhu, and Mahara Devi.
Wow.
Hari Hari. I love your stories, and I love you guys. I love your stories, and I follow them avidly. And you know, one point struck me that you know, one of my Shiksha gurus, Vaisheshika Prabhu, often emphasizes. He talks about no matter what we do when we are out interacting with people, not just, you know, during kirtans and festivals and, you know, sharing of Krishna consciousness, but just in our everyday lives, it's to become friends or leave every single person we meet with a great impression about us as Hare Krishnas, because you know, people may or may not so-called preach to them, but we are actually sharing Krishna consciousness with our example in our daily life. And you know, frequently when you hear about the word preaching, a lot of us get intimidated because we say, oh, you know, I'm a corporate guy, or I'm a housewife, or I'm a student, and I can't preach because it's not, you know, I can't do it, right? And or I'm too shy. But really, it's our example. And as you have been demonstrating with your examples, your stories, and Vaisheshika Prabhu says this all the time, that you're preaching with your example. And if you just leave them feeling great about the Hare Krishnas, that's a great service in itself. So thank you. That was really wonderful.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing up Vaisheshika's name. He's one of my favorite people. And he just says all of these brilliant things all the time. One of them is, anybody you talk to, just imagine that they have a little sign saying, make me feel important.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's what he does. And that was part of those festivals, was instead of inviting people, come to the Krishna temple where we're going to preach to you, I had outside people come that were experts in some field. And some of these were like really like very Christian based. There was this couple, they were going to Haiti to help develop rainwater catchment systems. And super, super Christian. I looked at their website and they're all about preaching about Jesus. But when they came to our place, they were just like, you know, God bless everybody. And they felt comfortable. So I felt successful that we made them feel welcome. He talked about rainwater catchment. Everybody listened. He may have made a few sales. People may have contributed to help his cause. And so I felt really good about that.
May I ask? Sorry,
yes.
sorry. Yeah.
Oh, one more thing before I forget. I mentioned inviting these high school kids, or we weren't inviting them, they were inviting each other. And this one girl came and she was just really enjoying it. And then I asked, is it okay with your parents that you're coming here? And she said, yeah, I just mentioned your name. And my dad said, oh, I know Mitra. I stayed up till 2:00 in the morning playing guitars with them. I was at the Front Porch Festival, and I went out there to sell books, but it just, after dark, I just started hanging around playing guitars with people. So yeah, he's totally fine.
So I had a question, you know, that point that, and maybe you're going to bring it up in your coming stories, but that point you had made about Mahaprabhu's trip to South India and, you know, the conservatism there, is that something you're going to share, or can you share if you're not?
Oh yeah, I totally forgot about that. Thanks for bringing it up. Yeah, we've been reading the Chaitanya Charitamrita. I have these different reading groups. I've noticed everybody's doing it now that there's the lockdown, but I've been doing reading groups since, how many years back? At least 10, maybe 15 years. Just having people call freeconferencecall.com. You remember them? And we gather and read Bhagavatam together. Lately, I've been going through the Chaitanya Charitamrita with, 3 different groups. Lord Chaitanya traveled in the south, and it's said that when he left Puri, he started to manifest his full potency. It also said that while he was traveling in the south, these southerners were very strong, like elephants, but they were caught up in the jaws of the crocodiles of different conservative mindsets. So it's like a reference to the Gajendra story. Gajendra, the elephant who was caught in the leg by the crocodile, and they fought for a long, long time. And finally, the elephant remembered prayers that he had learned in his previous life, picked up a lotus flower and held it up and offered those prayers to the Lord, who immediately came and killed the crocodile, liberating the crocodile, who assumed some kind of godly demigod form, and the elephant also assumed his spiritual form. So anyway, the Southerners were very strong, but they're caught in the crocodiles of conservative mindsets. And so we're just trying to melt that. Lord Chaitanya would melt them just by embracing them. I was listening to a little bit of Amarendra's presentation. When was that? A couple days ago? Oh man.
Yeah, he speaks every day, so I don't know which one you were listening to.
Oh, okay. But the power that Lord Chaitanya has is, wow. He was manifesting that. He was turning that up. And whoever's house Lord Chaitanya went to, people said, this is great. I love being with you. I'm going to leave my family behind and just walk with you. And Lord Chaitanya said, no, I want you to stay here. You stay here, and whoever you meet, you tell them what you've learned. Yare deke tare kaha Krishna Upadesh, Amara gyaya guru chara hanidesh. And he says to become a guru. And then an interesting thing that's in one of the purports there is Prabhupada echoes that. And he says, become a guru. Don't be artificially proud and say, I'm too advanced to become a guru. becoming a guru is like taking responsibility. You meet people and you try to help them along. Okay. Anyway, maybe I'm going off on another long tangent. We have a few other tangents we need to touch
We have
on.
a couple of people who had some questions that lined up.
Oh, okay. Good. We
I
want to
think-
see them.
Gabrielle wanted to ask one, and then after Gabrielle, it's Suma. Go ahead, Gabrielle.
Okay.
Whoa, our
Krishna.
new friend.
Good seeing you guys.
Good seeing
I-
you.
I was wondering, excuse me?
There you are.
Here I am. Hare Krishna. I was wondering about when you had all those kids living in the school and the neighbors, Christian neighbors. It was my experience with one of my daughters. They got invited by the Christian neighbors, and the entire street, the entire town was Christian, to go to their Sunday school and to go to their services. And I said, sure, no problem, go ahead. And she came back and said, I asked them in the Sunday school, why did they eat meat? Why did they think it was okay to kill animals? And it was actually the neighbor who took her to a Sunday school, who was teaching at the time, said, she told me, oh yeah, it's kind of like God put those animals here. They're like furniture, they're just, it doesn't matter. We're supposed to do that. And she came back and said, I'll never go there again. This is ridiculous. They don't know anything. And I was just wondering if you had similar experiences.
Yeah, the homeschool group, they ate meat, but they were very respectful to our beliefs, and we didn't really want to, try to change them. But I just kept bringing prasadam constantly.
But they never asked you guys or the kids in the school to come to their churches and see?
No. Mm-mm.
No?
But I went one time, and they asked me to come. I went for a cantata to listen to their Christmas music, and I don't like to say anything about them eating meat, but they were happy to have me there, and I didn't take anything, but I just like to be friends with them, and so
Right.
it was nice. I mean, they're just to be friends and not bring up the meat issue, because
Well, my daughter was 6 at the time, I mean, she had no filter. She was going to say what she wanted to say, and she was curious.
Yeah, they were just at the homeschool group. They were very respectful of the way we were. They didn't want to
Right.
try to give us any meat or anything. They didn't talk about it.
Yeah. I hope we don't get in trouble for saying this, but yeah, we never did preach to people. I had a few friends that were
Unless somebody was interested and wanted to change.
yeah.
Right.
If I had friends that were cattle ranchers, and I would go and visit them and play banjo, and I'd take my truck over there and shovel out his horse stalls because I needed the manure for the garden. And he loaned me his banjo for a while, and I just felt like it's not going to do me any good to tell him he's not going to change just because of me. Then one day, I was talking with his son. I was trying to fix something on my tractor, and I needed a tool, and the son said, "We've got one. I'll go get it for you." So he went back to the farm, and he said, "Dad, we need to borrow that big wrench." And the dad said, "Son, those tools never leave the farm." But the son said, "But Dad, it's for Mitra." And so he said, "Oh, all right, go ahead." So that I realized I was breaking one of his principles. He broke one of his principles for me. So just be nice. And where we are now, this guy that's come over, he's 80 years old. He's come over to help me install windows on my house. The kind of windows you look through, not computer windows. And this guy, his whole life, he's been a butcher. but he's just the nicest guy. We
Yeah.
give him prasadam. He'll do anything for me. He'll loan me tools, and I've gone over to help him with his house too. So I just feel like we're not going to do that. That's us. Some people, I'll let other people do it. And is that Suma?
Suma had a question. She's eager to ask her.
Yeah, Suma, what do you have?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, and we were
Yeah,
seeing,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Actually, I'm sorry if I gave any indication to say that I had a question. I mean, I'm sorry I didn't, but now a question came to my mind. But actually, I missed a whole bunch of your lecture because I was having problems connecting, and I'm only able to connect through my phone now because there was no Zoom number. If there's a number, it's easy. If I can get through my phone on my computer is the easiest. So anyway, I finally got through, but I missed a lot of it, and and the volume on my phone is very low. I can like barely hear. Sorry if I said I don't know if I indicated I had any question, but I can ask a question now because since you're here. Now, with this COVID situation, can you shed some light? Do you think this is some kind of a collective karma or something?
oh boy, with an introduction like that to the question, the toughest one.
Sorry.
Karma, collective karma.
I mean, this is what I've heard from some of the swamis. Some of our ISKCON high, devotees at the higher level swamis. Some of them have mentioned that. So I don't know. I mean, because millions of people are affected, even though so many of these millions are sort of trying to live a good, pure life, and so that I was just wondering, why is that?
Well, for the devotees, we would call it the coronavirus because it's a mercy. It helps us to become closer to Krishna, and it's been a great time for me. I find that like maybe everyone is more fearful, but at the same time, it's an opportunity to be friends with, like, for instance, one thing that's been good for me is I've been going to the health food store and shopping for all the ladies that are afraid to go out because they have compromised health. And I used to be able to pass out prasadam to everyone, but since the virus started, people have been afraid to take any food. So I started making like little gifts for people, like hand towels with their names on it. And it's just made people just so heart touched. They were so touched by the thing that I did, that
A little gift.
the gift, that they just become really close and they just want to help you. And when they see me, they're like, Maharha. And so it's been,
They want a hug, but they can't.
yeah, they just, like today I gave a gift to one of them and they're like, oh, I wish I could hug you. And so it's a wonderful time if you make it a wonderful experience. And it's all about mercy. We're all getting mercy. And if you see it, it's like an angle of vision. You just have to change your consciousness. Instead of thinking it's a really bad thing, you can think of it as like the environment is friendly. It's trying to teach us something, to be more Krishna conscious. We don't have a lot of time here to utilize every moment for spreading Krishna consciousness. I know in my letter from Prabhupada, when I got initiated, he said, spread this Krishna consciousness in the best way that you know how, in the best way that you can. So I've always tried to do different things that would make people appreciate us more. When we first moved to North Carolina, I when I brought banana bread into the health food store, the man behind the counter, Jeff, he got on a loudspeaker and he said, "Hey guys, the Krishna lady brought some banana bread. Come and get it if you want." And I just kept, and they would come and eat it, and they were so appreciative. And it's just an opportunity to spread more love and affection to people, and they just love you. I always wear a sari, and they like it, and they appreciate me. And so everyone can be appreciated during this time. I'll mail out prasadam to people, and it makes them just feel so loved. And so whatever you can do to help the situation and to help others not feel sad or depressed, or be their friend. And so it's an opportunity to spread Krishna consciousness.
That's good. Every situation is an opportunity.
Thank you. Kelsey has a question she's been waiting for a bit to ask.
Oh, good.
Hi,
Okay.
Krishna.
Hey, Krishna.
It's nice to see both of you.
We want to see you.
You can't see me?
Hold on. So Kelsey is up, and then after the Shameshwari Prima, I'm just going to turn on. Okay, go ahead, Kelsey.
Okay. Hi, Krishna. Can you see me?
Oh.
Krishna. So I had a question. I had a wonderful observation about the both of you, is that you have this really wonderful way of being receptive when you talk to other people. And I just have found both of you very easy to talk to, which is a quality that I have had a hard time developing. And I had a couple of questions in regards to that. I was wondering, first of all, is that a quality that you were like born with? Like, if that's just something you've always been so wonderful. And if so, or even if, especially if not, how can I try to cultivate that in my relations with others, and how can I be so loving? I know Maharha just talked about like gift giving, for example, or like baking sweets. I thought that was a really great idea for me, especially because for me, talking to others and being relatable doesn't come as easily. So if you could share on that a little bit.
Well, first of all, just that you asked the question shows that it will come. You will get that fulfilled. Krishna will empower you to be that way. So I remember when I first used to go on book distribution, I was terrified. And Jadharani would go with me, and she'd say, just pretend like you don't see anything but their soul. And I didn't know, of course I saw every part of their body because I was so much in Maya, so, okay, I'm just going to pretend that I only see this soul, whatever it looks like. And, but it would help me. And then I started thinking, well, I'm just going to meditate on Lord Jagannath. So I just meditated on him. And then I was able to approach people. And it was probably the hardest thing for me to do. I used to spend 2 hours upstairs in the Port Authority bus station crying and crying and crying. And finally I said, okay, as soon as you get out there, you're going to be okay. First book, you're going to get some mercy. So it's not going to be so hard anymore. So believe me, I went through a lot of difficulties just trying to approach people. So it comes with time. Krishna will empower you. So don't worry. Just be patient and keep trying to focus on your Krishna consciousness, because all good qualities come in the devotees. That all good qualities come. So you'll definitely be empowered to speak to people, and they'll just love you. So no worries.
Good question. Thank you. Very approachable question. How much time do we have? We got a few more things we want to cover. And
we can go a little longer. I think if that's okay. We have a couple of questions that are still pending. I don't think they're very long. Let's see. And then we can keep going a little longer. It should be all right. So Shameshwari Prem asks, which years did you do your festivals? What do you guys love about Krishna? And how does that influence your desire to make friends?
Oh, that's 3 questions.
3 questions.
Oh, it was around 2010, 2011, somewhere around there. It was right after, when was that? 2008, I think, was when the financial
market crash
started happening. Maybe that's when we started it. I don't know. Somewhere around there. I could do the research. It was a happy memory. And what do I like about Krishna? Oh man, I like his Srimad Bhagavatam. I like his books. I like his devotees. Maharha is the one that's the expert on Krishna. She's, I mean, look what she does. She dresses him. Does everybody see that? Let's give you a good darshan there.
Yeah,
Um,
very beautiful.
Radha Kanailal. And once our house is built, we have a beautiful altar for them. And okay, you can come back up now. Okay, that was brief. From Apurva and Kamalini. Oh, it's gorgeous. Oh, okay.
And, yeah. Okay, and Yadunath, you had a quick comment? Yadunath Prabhu?
Oh my gosh, I'm super nervous.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Wow, our heroes.
Just Hare Krishna.
No, you're our hero.
You're our heroes, which is why I just have this quick comment, which is two aspects, but I'll make it fast. It's very impressive when somebody can influence someone through their preaching. I find it extremely impressive when someone can influence people by not preaching, but just by being who they are. It's a much more organic, powerful thing. And it's part of the reason why Akanta and I respect you both so much. And I think you'll remember, I think it was Woody Guthrie, wasn't it? Who had written on his guitar, "This machine kills fascists." Do you remember that?
Pete Seeger.
Pete Seeger, it was Pete Seeger, okay.
Yeah.
So I think you should write on your guitars something like, "This machine transforms atheists," or something like that. They're equally as powerful.
Converts armies.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you for everything you do.
Really good idea. That's really me. Okay, thank you. Anything else?
I think we can keep moving a little bit more, if that's okay. We can keep moving, yes.
Okay. All right. So, at the post office, she's always sewing deity clothes and mailing them off, and she's always mailing packages of prasadam to people. And so, like, she's always talking to the people at the post office. Go ahead, tell them about it.
So there was one man there, his name was Pete. He was the main guy in charge. And he would say, I used to bring him cookies and stuff. He just loved them. But he said Hari Bol to whoever would come there. And you want to tell him what he did?
He was taught by the devotees to say Hari Bol every time a devotee would walk in. And so anytime devotees would come and visit us from somewhere else, and we had a chance to go to the post office with them, we'd say, "Come on, you got to see our little town of Sandy Ridge. And you got to come in and see this little tiny post office." So we'd walk in, and Pete would be there doing his work, and he'd look up and he'd see, oh, a new devotee. And he'd try not to smile, but as soon as we walk in, he'd just, as seriously as he could, Hari Bol. And, and try not to smile. And the devotees would just bust up like, what? I said, Hari Bol. So that was Pete.
And then there was Tanya. She's a sweet little black lady.
She's the only black woman in Sandy Ridge.
Yeah.
But she was
so
working
cool.
the post office, and everybody loved her.
Everybody loved her. And I'd always bring her cookies, and she just loved them. And she just loved prasadam. And we became really close friends. And then, when we were leaving.
We'll read it.
Okay. But I just wanted to say that, okay, go ahead and read that. But after, Mitch is going to read you something about Tanya.
Let's see. Then, okay. One day, I'll read a little bit. There's something else I wanted to say. If there's any people out there that do editing or book publication, I need help. I'm just out here in the country. I write a lot. I've got all of these notebooks that we've filled up over 15 years, little stories, funny things. I stopped at Pretty's store a couple weeks back. Needed a spark plug for the chainsaw. Pretty's store is this it's over 100 years old, old building. The floors creak. It's got the old post office thing, and it's the real item. It's got old men sitting on the bench out front. It's old timey. So I went there to get a spark plug for my chainsaw. Jane was there, all talky and friendly as usual. Jane Pretty. She was the mayor of Danbury for a while, and she works in the country store. I told her about the book I'm working on and asked what she would like to see in there. What would be interesting for her and the people around here, because she's like in touch with a lot of people. Everybody goes to the little country store. And I said, I'm writing this for y'all. She said, I'd like to hear how we've influenced you and you've influenced us, how we've become like y'all. And then I said, yeah, great idea. And how we've become like country Krishnas or Southern Krishnas. Yes, folks here would love to hear about that. And I've got plenty of material. Yesterday, I visited Dallas Carroll. He's a guy that worked with the fire department. He was born with only this much arm. It only grew out to there. He's got a little stump, but he runs a whole farm. He was one of the speakers at our sustainability festival, talking about his farming techniques. And so I went to visit his house, and I gave him a broken guitar and a mandolin because we were packing to move away. And he mentioned, when you were clearing land for the temple, the bulldozer unearthed a snake. The driver got down and killed it. And the driver told me, you know, those people got out and worshiped that snake. He was convinced y'all is evil. No, I said, it was probably they just felt bad. He killed something for no good reason. Dallas said, yeah, it's just complete ignorance. Why do people do that? So anyway, we were packing up to move out. Our son was going to school in Boone. That's going to open up our next little episode of stories. And so when we packed up, I wrote in November 27th, there's a vacant notice in our mailbox. At the post office, Tanya cried when Maharha told her we were moving. There was a long-standing plan for Tanya and her husband to visit us for lunch one day. When we get settled, we'll have to invite them again. Tanya said, why does God take all the nice people from me? There's some people I wish he'd take from me.
Tanya used to come out and stop her work and give me a hug to say goodbye. I want to give you a hug before you go.
Oh, just on a regular
Yeah.
post office day.
Yeah, she was so cool.
All right, so we moved to Boone. Our son was going to college there. Our house was up for sale. And so there we were in Boone, and we were living on the campus. For those of you who have been to the Art of Living campus for the Sadhu Sangha Festival, we had friends that let us stay in their condominium there while our son went to Appalachian State University. So we were all alone. There weren't any devotees around for 100 miles. And it was just the three of us in a little tiny apartment, probably about not much bigger than this room that we're in. So yeah, we were just trying anything we could to try to build up a following, get some people involved, meet people that were interested. We were trying to find a place where we could put on programs because our place was too small. Mm-hmm. We'd go out to the campus. Students were nice, but there was no place to invite them to. We met so many really nice students. Some of them said, out of all the universities in North Carolina, Appalachian State's got a reputation for meeting people like you guys. We're so glad you're here. We want to learn more. And we said, yeah, we want to teach more, but we need a place. So finally, we found a place. We didn't think it would be possible because it was run by a church. It was just a block and a half away from the campus. We went there, we talked to the pastor, and she said, well, there's certain principles that have to be followed. We have a policy for anybody that uses this space. And I thought, okay, good luck. Only for Christians, only for Jesus. But when she told us the principles, she said, one, it has to be all inclusive. You have to allow all kinds of people, no matter what their gender or gender preference or what their race is. And we were like, okay, we're fine with that. And another principle is, it'd be nice if you have some kind of environmental, something to support the environment. And so, all right, we're in. She got excited, told the pastor about our sustainability festivals. And so we were in, and we were inviting people. Little crowds were coming, but as the winter moved on, crowds got smaller and smaller. And one night there was nobody. We cooked and nobody showed up. And we were like, what are we doing? This is really hard. Maharha freaked out. Like, I did all this cooking. I can't do this anymore. I need something I can depend on. And so on our drive home, we stopped at Earth Fair, and all of the people there that she'd been feeding cookies to, she went and said, are you hungry? Can you eat something? Do us a favor. And they were happy. So they got full plates and we served everything out. And I said, the first nice spring day when the sun is shining, we are going to go out on that campus. These students, they want to come to this, but they're being distracted. There's a lot going on the campus. We need to be right in the middle, and we need to be the distraction. So that's our idea. And so here we're going to show you a picture. So you keep talking. Tell them about.
Okay, so we would go out on the campus and bring khichdi and bread and cookies. And the policemen didn't mind us being there. They were nice. They would eat cookies and they were very friendly. And Mitra would, after we fed everyone, then Mitra would have a Bhagavad-Gita reading, or he would play music with them. They would sing Hare Krishna and play the guitars, and we would pass out. Oh yeah, then he would have Gita readings. So yeah, it was really nice. We met so many nice kids. That was a really wonderful campus with a lot of interested kids that really liked hearing the philosophy, and they loved prasad. And yeah, we would pass out books in the libraries, and nobody would ever stop us because as long as we were nice. We distributed books outside the police station because there was one area where you could stand where there wasn't a store, and the police station was right there, and they would go in and out, and they didn't even mind us being there as long as you were nice. They let us be there. So it was a really cool campus.
So there we are. We are being the distraction. There's Maharha passing out. Can everybody see that?
Yeah, we can see it. It's
good.
Okay.
And so it started with banana bread, cookies, but then we started cooking big pots of khichdi, and I brought out the guitar. That's my guitar there. And you get music going, people start coming around. And then we would sit in a crowd. This is a small one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We had like sometimes 25 people in a circle. Everybody would take a turn reading a verse. We'd go in a circle and we just discuss it. And then so one thing that was really cool was, well, there are all kinds of fun things that happened there, but the student said, I'm really supposed to be in a class right now, but I got to stay here until we finish this chapter. So I felt successful. We had become the distraction. There's Maharha. She started a little group. And then let's see if this will play. Okay, a little glimpse into what we were doing in Boone. Now, one of the things that we forgot to tell was there was a small group that we invited to our place. That was before we had the place. And these girls, let's see, Maharha would give them saris, and they would dress up in saris. And okay, now we'll close that out. Okay, now we're back on. And one day the girls said, you know, you guys have been feeding us so much. You're doing so much for us. We want to feed you. We want to cook dinner for you. And we thought, well, I mean, you know, we're Hare Krishnas. We only eat prasadam. And they said, yeah, we know that. But they're all vegans. And so we just thought, well, why not? Why not? Who's going to know? Who's going to care? They want to help us. And no onions, no garlic. They're vegans. And they asked, so what kind of rules should we follow while we're cooking this? And so they cooked it in their dorm. They looked up a recipe. They found something called samosa soup. and so we went there. I got some pictures somewhere of them. We went there into their dorm room, and they had Grateful Dead posters up on the wall. And it just looked like any old college dorm. But we were eating samosa soup. We told them, okay, while you're cooking, you got to chant the whole time. You got to talk about Krishna. Don't talk about anything else. And when we get there, we'll show you how to offer it. And that prasad was, I think, more spiritual than just about any prasad I've had anywhere. They put everything into it. And then we read a chapter of Gita, and we ate samosa soup. And then it was a busy day in the downtown. So we said, well, let's go out and sing on the streets. And they said, sure, let's go. So all these girls went out their first evening on Harinam. One of them played ukulele. She was a really good singer from a Christian family in
Baptist.
Where was that town? Louisville, Kentucky. Oh boy, she had such a good voice. And
yeah.
So let's see how many, and Gordon Ryan was with us. So there was 6 of us. Is that right? 6, yeah. 6 of us. And we were just parading up and down the street singing Hare Krishna. So that was our technique. And then one of those girls was transferring off to another college, and Maharha just started crying. I can't do this. I just fall in love with these people, and then they got to move away. And I said, that's just part of
College preaching.
It's part of what we do. So I have a lot of this written down. If anyone knows anything about book publication, please get in touch with me. I need some help. I need support. Something I was thinking of saying. Okay, one last thing.
Thank you. Your turn.
Maybe. Causality. Maybe somebody knows about this. They talk about a clay pot. There are 4 things. What is it that causes a clay pot? You've got the potter. You need the clay, the material cause. Let's see, the instruments. You need the tools, which is the spinning wheel. So those 3 things are essential. You can't do a clay pot without any of those. But then there's one last important one. Of course, in Bhagavad-Gita, there are 5 things. The last one is Daivam Panchamam. The 5th thing is the Paramatma, the Lord, the sanction of the Lord. But this 4th one in this description is there has to be a need for that clay pot. So without a need for a clay pot, you need all four of those things. You have to have a need for it. You have to have a person to build it. You need the tools. You need the materials. So I've got all the materials. I've all this stuff to write. I just need an audience, somebody that's interested in hearing this. And also, as far as outreach, reaching out to people, I feel a strong need to do that. I see there's a crying need for it. People are suffering. And when people come back to us and say, I really like what you guys are about, I really appreciate everything you do, that's what keeps us going. And I know you've all experienced that. That makes you feel better than anything. So now I'll open up. Is there anything, anybody?
Yes, thank you so much, Mitrasena Prabhu and Mother Maharha. I think, I mean, this is one of the most insightful and intriguing, it's not really a class. It was more like, friends sharing adventures, it wasn't like a typical preachy kind of class. It was really, really sweet in that way, very personal and very eye-opening. So I want to thank you for that. And what can be accomplished just by being one, just be having an open heart, and it's not as difficult, we just have to be ourselves, and you're both very inspiring and shining examples of that, and we really appreciate it, that you took your time and shared this with us. So thank you all very much on behalf of all the devotees. I'm just going to make a couple announcements on upcoming, and then we'll just come right back. So upcoming speakers for coming week, we have on Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami Maharaj, who is also present in our audience today, by the way. And he speaks on the second canto this week, first chapter of the second canto. Very interactive and very dynamic lecture, so do not miss that. This is 8 p.m. all week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. On Tuesday, we have His Grace Devaki Nandan Prabhu. And then on Thursday, we have Achyuta Gopi Devi Dasi. On Saturday morning at 11 a.m., His Holiness Sachinandan Swami broadcasting live from Germany on developing a relationship with Lord Jagannath, because that's the weekend of the Jagannath Rath Yatra in India, followed by Hari Parshad Prabhu, Saturday evening 8 p.m., and then Radhashyam Prabhu of Pune on Sunday evening at 6 p.m. So we have a wonderful, another great lineup coming up, and so please keep attending this channel. And I would like to request His Grace Neelamani Prabhu to say a couple of words of thanks, and then we can open it up to everybody else.
Hare Krishna, Mitrasena Prabhu, Maharha Mataji. It's so nice to see you and hear from you. So wonderful. I was just telling Radharani that I think 7, 8, maybe 9 years ago, I don't remember exactly when, you came to stay with us. I think you and Narayan came and spent a weekend or two. I think you were on your way somewhere to South America or something. And at the time we were redoing Costa Rica. We were redoing the whole kitchen floor, and we were saying that, well, if you're lucky, this floor will last 10, 15 years or so. But anyway, I remember you. So nice to have you there the weekend with us, and just sharing some of those nice stories with us even then. And it was really wonderful to hear all of your nice stories today.
Camp Krishna also.
Yes.
Camp Krishna, yes.
Camp Krishna.
Definitely, Prabhu.
All the way back to Camp
Pandavasena. I should have worn my Pandavasena t-shirt. Came to Prabhupada Village, 2000, whatever it was, 2008, I think.
Yeah. But as Yadunath Prabhu spoke, I won't repeat, but it's just so amazing that you can just naturally be so effective preaching without even trying. And the rest of the world, the devotees are just trying so hard and trying to become creative and racking their brains how to get this message out to others. And you're just doing it just as everyday kind of day of life type of thing. So really, you're both gifted and wonderful, and so inspiring to see that you can do this so easily.
We only do it because it's so much fun.
Yes, exactly.
And I know you guys are having fun too. I've been to your house.
Yes, please come again. We've moved now. We have a new house, so please
Oh.
come again.
Oh, really? Okay. Definitely.
Yes. Please come visit us here in New Jersey. You know, we love to have you as a speaker here at the temple once things open up, and you know.
Yeah. Wow. I
Happy.
feel intimidated. That's a big temple.
There's plenty of space. Plenty of space. Even the tall devotees can fit in it. So.
All devotees. Okay.
We have 30-foot high ceilings. I think you'll be fine.
So.
Yeah.
We can jump. Okay.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. And if everybody else wants, I think they'll say a quick Haribol. You can unmute yourself and say a quick Haribol to our wonderful speakers. Hare Krishna. Have a good night.
All right. Thank you.
Haribol. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mitra
Thank
Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Nice to see you, Maharha. Mataji.
Haribol, thank you.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Haribo, Apurvan Kamalini.
Wow.
Jai. Jai.
But it came on.
Jai.
I think they won't come back again.
Hare Krishna.
They already put the camera on here, so I don't think it'll come back, but maybe.
Is Maharha.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Mitrasena. Thank you. And
Krishna.
Maharha Mataji, thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, thank you. Muted.
You muted.
Not muted anymore.
You guys again. Hare Krishna. Hey, whoa.
Wow.
Thank you. Thank you, Mara.
Thank you.
Questions. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Mitra Prabhu, thank you very much for your association.
Oh, man. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, that ceiling fan looks really good behind you.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
That-
Wow.